Okay guys, so yesterday we did some keywords and completed the OOPS concepts. Today we'll see what is exception in Java, right? Exception handling. So anyone aware about this concept or this topic, exception handling? It's one of the important topic in core Java. Like whatever we're going to discuss, it's important because we are not going to cover every single aspects of core Java. We're just covering what is actually required in projects and in real time when we work in any project. So this is uh, one of the important concept which you should be aware. So exception handling, or what is exception? Let's break these two terms. So one is exception and one is exception handling. So exception means some unwanted conditions, right? Unwanted conditions or abnormal conditions. Okay, whatever you can understand, unwanted or abnormal conditions. After slash conditions. What does it do? It uh, affects. Of course, in English term, you can understand what is exception. In Java, it affects the normal flow. Fine. So this is what it do. It will affects the normal flow of code. And handling is what? Handling that conditions, as the term clearly says. Handling those abnormal conditions. Fine. So this is what we are going to do. And in exception handling, we have 5 keywords which helps us to handle exception or try to maintain that error level. So we have 5 keywords here, keywords or reserve keywords, whatever you guys understand. So first is try, next is catch, third is finally, then throws, and then finally throw. Okay, so we have 5 keywords which will be used in this whole process, exception handling. So before using these keywords, let's see what are these conditions, how it affects our flow. Okay, so this is our project. Let's create one more package, and we are getting some errors because we saw something about default keyword. So let me comment them out. Okay, better. Okay, so going to new create a new package. Right click on src, then com.pack dot um, exception. Okay, so new package is there. Let's create new. Okay, let's rename it actually because we have a class which whose name is exception. So refactor rename. Let's call this exception demo. Okay, so in this package we'll create a simple class. Exception tester. Okay, and going to print something. Simple statements. So I'll say statement 1. So right now we have a simple statement, right? A simple sysouts are there. If I execute this code, we will get these 5 lines in our console. Yeah, getting 1 to the power 5. Now, what are those abnormal conditions or behavior we can see or might occur? So here I'm going to do some mathematical operation like int c equals to 5 plus 0. Okay, and then printing the value. This out, value of c is c. Okay. And if I execute this code, we get a value of c. Nothing special. Yeah, 5 plus 0 is nothing. Okay, if I perform some other operation like division, okay, now let's see what happens. So, just a second, let's put this code first on paint. Now, take the output. Okay, now we will do division here. Same thing, just change the operation. Everything remains same here. Okay, executing the code again, and we are getting something here. Statement 1 get printed, statement 2 get printed, but when it comes to third line, 5 divided by 0, it's saying exception in thread main. Okay, we'll see what is that. But after that, notice here in blue color, java.lang arithmetic exception. Okay, and the reason is divide by 0. So in Java language, you cannot use 0 to divide anything. If you do that, you will get exception, arithmetic exception. Where it occurred? Exception tester. On which line? Line number 8. If you click, this will get highlighted. So this is one of the condition we can see. This is abnormal. If someone is new in Java and try to perform some kind of math operation, and of course by mistake if they miss this, what they're doing, maybe this 0 is coming at runtime. Right now 0 is hard coded, 5 divided by 0. Maybe that person is trying to do some operation and then at runtime the value is coming. Somehow that value becomes 0 and then that value is going to be divided something. So that will happen. So these are some conditions which you should handle. Oh, now what happened because of this exception? The rest of the code, line 3, 4, 5, all three statements are not printing. So that means our code was terminated from line 8. Even this line, value of c is also not get printed. So from line number 8, you can see line number here. In case if it's not visible, so right click on this bar and show line numbers. If you do this, it will go on. Right click, show line numbers. So make sure you have a line numbers in your system. Anyway, so yeah, this line is preventing the below lines to be get executed. So this can happen in your project as well. You might have written multiple logics or multiple method calls. So one method is doing something else, some method is doing something else. So in case if some method do some kind of operation like this, the rest of the method will never get called. So that will be half-baked data, right? So you might end up with some data insufficiency. So you have to handle that scenario. So how to handle that? We have these kind of keywords, try, catch, and other stuffs. So let's start with try keyword. Okay. So we have a try, we have a catch. So try keyword. This is its first syntax. That how you can use it. If you have to use try keyword, you have to use it with catch block. Okay, that's syntax 1. Other way is using try is by finally keyword. So mm, mm, mm. try, then catch, not catch, this time we'll write finally. We'll discuss about all that, and done. So syntax 1 and syntax 2. This is how we use it. So let's try with first one. So what you have to do, you have to just wrap up that example. So I'll leave it as it is. Let's create one more tester, tester 2. Where now this particular one is causing issue, right? So in Java, if you think or you might get suspicious or you want to take precautions, either way, if you want to handle all these kind of scenarios, make sure that particular code or all of that code should go in try catch block. So write try, curly brace, open, and paste that code. Okay, and then it will show you error, right? It says syntax error, insert finally to complete try statement. You cannot just write try and you're good to go. No, you have to use either catch or either finally block, as I mentioned. Either you can go for try catch or try finally. So Eclipse by default suggests use finally. So okay, but I won't go for finally. I'll write catch block. How to write catch block? Catch parenthesis, and here it needs one argument kind of exception. Let's write this exception. Curly brace. I'll leave it empty for now. And let take this line as well inside try block, because C is inside declared inside the try block. This is a local variable. If something is local, you cannot use that variable outside of that particular block. It was used outside, so giving issue. So I just move that line as well inside try block. Okay, so we are good to go. For now, catch block is empty. We'll fill that in next example. Okay, so let's run the code and see whether the rest of the code get executed or not. So right click, run as application, and now you guys can see we are getting all you can say messages or all lines are executing even though we have a divide by zero operation. So if you see what just handled, because of try catch, our code is not get affected, right? Its normal behavior was print all the statements in a sequence 1 2 3 4 5, and it's happening, and in between something was there, it was kind of ignored or kind of handled. Yep. So now let's create one more example. So everything remains on the same pace. Okay, now what if I fill something in catch block? Let's put this out here and print inside catch block. So if I run this code one more time, run as application. Now you guys can see even catch block gets executed. Earlier it was empty, so nothing gets printed. Now we can see even um, catch block is also executed. So we'll do one thing. Instead of this, we'll say exception is print e dot get message. Okay. So now if I run this code, you will see some more message. It says exception is colon and divide by zero. So what happened here? What was the flow? Line 1 executed, or statement 2 got executed, then the control goes in try block, this option get performed, and definitely it throws exception. As soon as this exception get throws, rest of the line inside try block will not execute. Okay, remember this thing. Once you have exception, code will get you know, its flow gets changed. It will never execute the below codes. So we are, good thing is this code was executed inside try block. So if anything goes inside, I mean anything goes inside try block, and that flow throws or having exception, the control transferred from try to catch block always. So if you have any exception inside try block, the control always gets transferred from try to catch block automatically. You don't have to write any logic for that. It is defined in JVM. That's how it works. So exception was in line 9. So line 10 never gets printed. You can see value of C is not here. Then what? It goes inside catch block and prints exception is, and whatever the exception was there, earlier we saw divide by 0, so that's get printed, and then rest of the line gets printed 3, 4, 5. So
So
this,
the exceptions could be any logic as well.
yeah, it not logic. Logic means you, if you write a logic, that means you whatever task you were trying to do, it won't work.
Okay.
Think about.
So
Hmm.
so like we did like the c is equal to 5 divided by 0. So that's like not divisible, or it's not in the Java. That doesn't
Hmm.
that doesn't. So why do we need the exceptions? Like as we know that this is in the Java is 5 divided by 0 is not gonna work. So why do we need this?
No, we don't need this. This is something which is quite natural.
Okay.
Think about, we have some mathematical operations like int a equals to 5. Okay, that's why I wrote that. That's the next example. Have you noticed I decided int c? So you might ask, where is b and a? Okay, now a divided by b. Fine. Now maybe these values are not even defined here. They might be coming from method operation. Like,
Okay. So this becomes a logic here.
yeah, I'll say um, some method is there which will return the values. Right now you can see these int a and 5, a and b are defined inside the method. They are hard coded. Maybe the
Yeah.
a and b coming from some other method. They are doing some kind of method operation, and somehow b gets 0. Huh?
Correct. Yes.
So we are we are handling those kind of scenarios. Remember we were doing some here somewhere we did that. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so for now, let's have arithmetic exception. We will see more exception type. So I'll suggest once you go back, so you guys do and check types of exceptions. Okay, guys, check out what is types of exception in Java.
You gave me homework. You gave us homework yesterday about the static, and today in interview they asked me about the static.
Yeah, that's why I get the homework. If we do
Yeah,
it
they also asked me about the overload as well. So like so
okay,
those
okay.
kind of things. It was pretty cool.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying. Just follow my classes. You will see that whatever I'm teaching, this is the only thing which quite oftenly ask. So it's for your own good. If you do this, that's good. If you don't do, so you will regret later. Okay, fine. So this is what we did. We wrote a simple example to see what exactly happens when you do some kind of operation and by any chance we are not getting the desired result, all because of exception. So this is just one exception, right? So before we'll start, let me show you some more, you can say, exception hierarchy. That's quite big, and because from today onwards we are actually digging up into the Java library. If you have noticed, we were getting some different message earlier, right? We were getting some kind of this message. How to get this message now? So what you have to do, go to on that example. Instead of printing this, I'll keep that line, and here I'll just say that reference, which is E here, exception E, that's a reference of exception. I'll just say E dot print stack trace, and done. Now we will see some more information, some more elaborated information. It was right now just saying divide by 0, but we don't know what was the exception. It's actually a Java class. There it is. So just by writing e.print stack, it prints the whole information about it, particular that exception. What is exception? Why it happened? And where it came. So you should be really good in reading exception. Right now it's just 2 lines. In real projects, guys, believe me, it goes in thousands of lines, and that will be pretty tough where my exception is. So you have to be very thorough when it comes to reading the exceptions and reading all the informations. So we have a simple logic, so just 2 lines. If it
So if
goes,
we run like if we have
hmm,
this like if we run an application, say if we get this like this error. So this is not an error, right?
no, no, this is exception. I'm keep saying it's
Okay.
exception, exception. Okay, so it's something else. Okay, So that's how we get some more information about the exception. So yeah, now we will see exception hierarchy, and there we will see some errors as well. So what is error and how it's different from exceptions, we will see that as well. Okay. Okay, fine, this is done. Now what? Um, yeah, that hierarchy, right? So let's see. Let's say exception hierarchy. Okay, I'm not going to create that. It takes time. We want to just save our time. So always pick images from Google, and there's one image which I usually pick. Uh, uh, uh. We can use this image. Okay, so just save some time, and you can see this hierarchy. I don't know, that image is not there, but this is also understandable. So what we have here, this is called exception hierarchy. Okay, guys, there it is mentioned. Let's pick this as well. We're talking about exception hierarchy. So hierarchy is nothing but Java class flow, where the things are attached. So you guys should be aware about what is object class. What is an object? So that could be your next homework. Object class. Check the object class. So how to do that? Just open that uh, Oracle documentation and check out. So what you can do, you just need to write object class Java doc. Okay, so that will lead you to Oracle documentation, the proper official document of Oracle, where they keep all the class documentation. So public class object is the root of the class hierarchy. If you guys are new here, never heard this term object class, so this is the root hierarchy of the class. Now read this out. Every class has object as a super class. All objects, including arrays, implement the method of this class. And when this was introduced, JDK 1.0, that means in initial version, when they were developing Java, they have added this class, and this class acts as a super class of all Java classes. You can write that explicitly or implicitly. You will have this class as a super class. Doesn't matter how big your hierarchy is, by default this class will be at the top, and it has around 12-13 methods. And check out what these methods are and what their work. So let's just go over this class. This is again mostly as question in interviews. What this class is, what does it do, how it works. You can open a document or something and let me know that you have some idea. Then we can discuss more about it. We don't need to go about or go over all the methods, but some of the methods. So object class is there. Check out what that class is, how it works. Okay, so now we are talking about exception hierarchy. So what this is, it's just a combination of multiple classes. So at the top, what we have, object class. Now there's one interface, there's one actually abstract class, throwable. Okay, and throwable has two child classes, error and exception. Why these are green? Because you cannot handle them. Okay, they uh, I don't know why this runtime they have mentioned runtime. Okay, that's quite. mm, Can we change the color? Leave it. Anyways, okay, let's use their color code. So they are using red for unchecked exception and green are for runtime exceptions or unchecked exceptions. The red one is checked and green are unchecked. So these are actually types of exception which I gave again as a homework. Types of exception. So we have two types of exception, checked and unchecked. Red one are here checked exception again. These are not the only classes. We have lots of classes. If you open the class hierarchy, did I close that? Yes, I closed that. Let me show you again the exception class hierarchy. Images and check this out, guys. Some big hierarchy here. Okay, if you copy page, now have a look how big the hierarchy is. Again, these are not all the classes. We have lots of other classes as well. But looks like they kind of covered everything. So if I show you in first place, so you might get okay, wow, lots of classes. So that's why I picked the smaller one, which show you the idea. So you can have it. I'll save that as well, part of image. So this is just a rough picture what it looks like, the hierarchy looks like. So you have to focus on throwable is at parent level, object is definitely at the top. So you can even neglect it. It's always there. You can write or not, doesn't matter. Object class is always there. Then after you have to focus on throwable. So throwable is the parent class in exception hierarchy, and throwable has two childs, error and exception. Error is something which can't be handled programmatically. Okay, that's one biggest you can say difference between exceptions and errors. Can't be handled through programs. Okay, you cannot write any code which can handle the errors, but definitely you can handle exceptions. Okay, so that's one biggest difference between these two. Errors cannot be handled. So if you notice some error names, you might get some idea. Like virtual machine error. We have a VM running, that JVM we call that, Java virtual machine. If that machine is down, where you will write the code? What will execute your code? Nothing is there. Out of memory. If your memory is full, what sort of code you will write to recover that? It's done. Once your memory is full, that means it's full. You cannot handle that. Stack overflow. That's one more memory area which keeps all the references. So again, if it is full, so how are you going to recover from that area? So if something is down, memory is down, you have to restart something or maybe manually clear some space to get that done. Maybe you end up with some infinite loop. That could be a cause for this kind of errors, out of memory or stack overflow. So either way, you cannot write any code which will handle this kind of scenarios. Again, thread is dead, so you cannot write any code. Even the thread handles your code. If thread is down, so who handles your code? So these errors can't be handled, or you cannot write any code. So that's why we don't discuss about much about errors, but yeah, you should know. You should be aware about what these errors are and when they comes. So as a theory part, okay. Coding wise, no, you cannot write any code which will handle the scenarios. So that's why we always talk about exceptions. Now we have a two exception types, checked and unchecked, which you check out what these things are. So they have mentioned in green and red. So red one which are checked exception and green one unchecked exceptions. Now we have some classes: runtime exceptions, IO exception, SQL exception, broken where exception, and runtime exception has two classes: arithmetic exception and null pointer. Again, they are just two classes. And if you see that big hierarchy, here is the runtime exception, and if you see here, it's quite big. These are the subclasses of runtime exception. plus some more exception classes, illegal and the stuffs. So I guess when they put out this image, they might have covered all exception, but I'm not sure. But where you can check that, right? This might be a question where you can actually see all these exception classes. So all these exception Java classes are present inside java.lang package. All exception classes are present in lang package, java.lang package. Okay guys, so remember this one, it is important from interview perspective. Okay, done. So this is about the hierarchy. I hope you guys are aware about it now, what these things are. Now let's move to next keyword, that is catch. So actually we have already covered that catch block. You don't have to write that one more example. If you notice here, in third example we have already used catch block. So catch block is always used with try. That's it. No other usage. Catch block is just for catching the exception. Try will throw the exception. Catch will catch or handle, kind of handle the exception. So try is for those lines which might throw or might exception will occur there. And catch is a place where code gets transferred when an exception occurs in try block. As soon as, or in whatever line, as in our case, we on line 11 we are getting exception, so control gets transferred from line 11 to line 15. And if you have some more code in a catch block, that can also execute, and then the rest of the line. So that will never affects our abnormal, normal flow. So our code will never abnormally terminated. I hope try catch is cleared. If it is, we can move to next keyword, that is finally. Third keyword, finally. This is something which always execute. It always executes, irrespective of you have exception or not. Okay, it doesn't matter whether we have exception or not. This block always executes. So let's see that. Let's copy this class. Here we are, and how we can use it. Again, we know first way one of using this finally is you can go for try. Here goes the code. Catch. Um, I'll keep it in way 2. Way 1 is try, then finally, right? Then catch, finally. Okay guys, so we have two ways to use this. Either you can go for directly try finally, which is quite not in a fashion. Nobody uses that try finally, but this is mostly you will see in the code try, catch, and finally blocks. So just use it the way. So we'll go for third approach. So we have try, catch, and here I'll write finally, finally block. And now I'll put this out, this block. Okay, so we have finally block executed. Fine. Now what else we are missing here? So let's run the code. Um, so right now, what if you execute this code, we can see we have a division operation, which is 5 0. So we definitely will get exception. So if I run this code, let's see the output. So statement 1, statement 2, then finally block executed. Then we have arithmetic operation divided by 0, and then of course same way, then 3 4 5. But you can notice after exception the block got executed. Let's run this code one more time so you will see some different way. This is better. So statement 1, statement 2, then this operation happened and it goes in catch block, prints arithmetic operation something, and then final block executes, then 3 4 5 0 5. So you can see though we have exception, but this catch, sorry, final block executed itself. So you don't need to worry about this. Block is really helpful. You might ask that what's the purpose of final block? So we use this final block to close opened connections, and that connection could be network connection, any file connection, or any database connection. So we will use that this whole thing inside JDBC class when we do JDBC. Okay. This is the
So can we have like a multiple try and multiple cats?
yes, you can have multiple things, but ideally you should have one track catch finally. But you can nest them. Nesting is fine. You can do that. But when you talk about multiple track catch, that does not make any sense. Okay. If you want to use them, just have one block and then handle multiple exceptions. Okay. You
Okay,
can do
so
that as
it's
well.
I'm just asking because what if there is a multiple
Yeah,
exceptions?
that's fine. Keep asking. There's no silly question. Believe me, guys, there's no silly question. There's always kind of silly answer sometimes, but not always. But don't think about asking questions. Just ask whatever you comes in mind. You are learning it first time, so what happened? Ask anything. Doesn't matter. I won't mind it. Just interrupt me in the between when I'm saying something.
Okay.
So, yep. So this is how we use finally block, and as I said, it always executes. So now we will just change it. We're saying um, not this operation. So now 5 plus 0, that gives us 5. So no exception condition, and if you execute, everything's fine. Statement 1 get printed, then 2, then value. This mathematical operation happens, then it prints the value of C. Everything fine. This time, have you noticed catch block is not executed because nothing was thrown from try block, so it never goes in catch block. Then finally block printed, and then 3 4 5. So this is one happy scenario or happy path we call this in projects. There's always two scenarios: happy path and these conditions. So if everything goes fine, we call this okay. Everything goes fair, not an issue. And in that scenario, still finally get executed. So as I said, final block is used to close connections. So if you open any connection in try or any other block, and it's your responsibility, it's developer's responsibility to close that connection. So usage of yes.
Okay, so on this scenario, okay, so like let's say if there is no exceptions
Hmm,
there, so instead of cats, like if we just put finally there, like you told earlier that you can use try and finally as well, right?
right.
So it's like then the finally is still gonna be executed right over there.
You're saying without catch like this way?
Yes.
Yeah, still, but that won't be counted as exception handling.
Okay.
Okay, let let's see that as well. I'm going to write one more example for as, as you asked. So let's do that. So let's change the operation this time. Again, division operation, and going to remove this one. Right? Typically, catch block executes. Let's see that as well. Then I'll remove code. So we have this weird message. Let's remove catch block. Execute one more time. Okay. So statement 1, statement 2, then catch block executes because we have operation, then finally 3 4 5. So everything's fine. Now, but because of try catch, our rest of the code gets printed. So this is what we want. Doesn't matter exception came or not, we should handle that exception cases and our code should not affect it. Otherwise, it will cause a inconsistency in your whole program. Okay, now I remove that catch block. Now we have a try finally block. This is also supported by compiler, so it will work. But does it actually handle the exception? Let's see that. So right click, run as application. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not happening, right? Statement 1, statement 2, then we have exception, finally block, and this is this gets printed by default. Okay, this is handled by JVM. Maybe you will ask, okay, we don't have a catch block. How this is coming up, right? Earlier it was coming because of catch block, but now it's coming. We don't have a catch block because right now the internal, you can say the implicit behavior of JVM is happening. It says, okay, you are not handling, so that's my responsibility. At the end, if developer is too lazy to handle the exception, JVM will do that by its own way. Okay, so we should not left this kind of task for JVM. We should always handle exception as a good developer. So, but yeah, try finally will never handle the scenarios or exceptions. It will end up with some errors. Okay, and here we are done. Okay, so this is about try finally block. Okay, this is done. So we have covered third keyword. Um, let's see the fourth keyword and then we will end up the session. So fourth keyword in our class is throws. Okay, this might confuse you guys a little bit, so don't get confused. Okay, so when we say throws, first of all, it is so far whatever keyword we have seen, try, catch, finally, all these were part of method body, right? Let's see this again. So I have written five keywords: try, catch, and finally. These were used inside the method, right? That's where the difference comes with throws. That's why I said maybe people get confused. So don't do that. Try, catch, or with goes inside the method body. Okay, when it comes to throws, it is used with method signature. Okay, so how it looks like that you might have a method public void, let's say demo method, and then you have to write throws and then exception class name, then body opens, close, code goes here. So we have used throws keyword with the method signature. Okay guys, so that's how we can use this throws keyword. Now let's see some example on it. So let's call this throws tester. Okay, let's remove extra stuffs. Fine. And since it's a class, we have a main method. And to what? Let's get one more method. Okay, one more static method. So I'm assuming you guys are aware about static keyword because I have given homework and you guys are practicing alone and plus with other guy and which used to take care of all the stuffs. So let's say M1. So now we have two static methods, main method and M1, or let's call this, let's call it M1. Keep it simple. Okay. Now this M1 will do what? Let's change it. Read file. Okay. Well, we are not going to actually do the reading. I'm just telling you this method will do. But we will add that code which actually used to read the file. So there is one class in Java. As I said, from today onwards, we are going to dive into Java classes. So one of the class which is not a part of exception handling, but which is used to read files. So one of the file is file input stream. Okay, this is the class, guys. And what I'm doing, just creating the object. At least we know how to create object, so not an issue. Now here we need to pass the file path. So you can say t, just random path. Okay, images, or let's say data, let's say my file dot txt. Okay, as soon as I complete this line, you can see we are getting one error. What does it says? Everything's fine about this line, nothing wrong with this line. We are just creating object, class name, then reference, then new keyword, and class name again, and some parameter inside the constructor, which is in string type. But what is causing the issue? Let's hover the mouse and see. Hover the mouse and it says unhandled exception type, file not found. And Eclipse is giving two options. Who is giving option this time? Eclipse. It says either add throw declaration or surround with try catch. Okay, let's see what happens when we say try catch. Yep, this is what we know. This line was causing issue. So what we did, we wrapped that code inside try catch and handle exception got handled. But we have already done this thing, so I'll just keep this in. I'll copy, comment, and paste this again. That is by try catch. What if I don't want to try catch? Or maybe I want to go for a different approach. This is not something what I want. So what I will do, I will hold the mouse again and this will go for throws declaration. And if I do this, error again gone. So what we did, we kind of did partial exception handling. This is not actually handling the exception, but we just kind of skipped or kind of tricked the compiler that this method will handle the exception, and by using or writing what throws keyword, we are not actually handling exception in Java. The only way to handle exception is try catch block. This is the code which handles exception. After that, whatever you lose, it's just kind of skipping the exception or just neglecting the exception. So throw says what? We are throwing the exception. We are not handling it. This exception is not handled here. Handling is by try catch. It's not handling. It just throws. So where it throws? To the caller. Right now this method is not called. So let's call this method right here. Read file and semicolon. And you guys notice as soon as I call this method, this starts giving me error. Because it's a static method, I can call it directly. You should be aware about it because that's why I gave in static method or static keyword. Okay, if I hover, you will see unhandled exception type, file not found exception. This is one of the Java class, guys, file not found. Maybe you will find that in somewhere in the hierarchy. Here it is. It's a part of IO exception class and it's one of the child of exception class. So exception has multiple childs. One of the child is IO exception and IO exception has file not found exception. Maybe it's small. Let me zoom it. File not found exception. Okay, so that's one of the part of Java class. And if you notice from where it's coming, it's from java.io package that we will see in future classes. So that's a different package, java.io input output package. Anyways, so let's come back to here. So what happened when we call this method? It's giving me error. What it says? Unhandled exception. So you have to handle the exception. So again, two solutions: either surround with try catch or throw declaration. If I use throw declaration, again we just kind of skip the exception, and by default we knows if you keep skipping the exception or won't handle the exception, ultimately that exception goes to JVM. It's an overhead for the JVM, guys. Of course JVM is doing everything for you, plus it is also handling the exception, which is not a good practice. So you are at the root where the call starts, or method call gets started, and right now main is the method which triggers the execution. So you should handle that exception. So here I can use try catch block and done. So throws is just for skipping the exception which might occur here, or if you think that this can be possible scenario, or sometimes compiler forces you to handle this exception. Either way, you need to write throws keyword. I just gave you an idea how you can use throw keyword. Once we will come back tomorrow and you have an idea of checked exception and unchecked exception, we can talk more about it. But for now, that's how we use throws keyword. Any question or doubt till here, whatever we did today?
I have Yeah, I have
Yes.
one question. So let's say we have multiple method right
Mm-hmm.
inside one class, and there is a exception in one of the method. So does another method get executed?
Method will execute, but its content it totally depends upon how you're handling the exception. If you write throws, definitely you will face abnormal behavior. The all I mean all the line in that method will not execute for sure if you're using throws keyword. The only way
Oh,
is the perfect way is try catch. You should use try catch so rest of the code can execute. Okay.
okay, okay. So like we use the try to catch, and then we have like let's say we don't use it, there is exceptions, and then we have another method after that.
Okay.
So
Hold on.
that is still another.
Let me do it. Okay. Not issue. So here we are. Let's create some 2 3 methods for you. Fine. M1, M2, M3. Now tell me which method will have error or exception.
Okay. Let's say we have in a main method, there's exception. I mean error there or
Okay,
exception.
so right now we know, no, just call it exception. Okay, keep practicing and say exception, no error. Okay, we know this will throw error, right? And where you want to call
Yeah.
M1, before or after?
After.
M1, right?
Yeah.
And now we will call this chain from M1 to M2, M3, right?
Mhm.
And how would we know that which one execute or not? So let's print this out. Statement 1. Mm, copy it, print it. This will be 2. Let's make it simple just by saying M2 and 1. Makes more sense. M2, M3, and let's call main. Fine. Is that okay?
Yes.
So we have not handled the exception, right?
Uh-huh.
So we know the flow. It prints main, tries to
Then
operation
exception.
this, exception occurs, and once we have exception, rest of the code will never execute. So if we execute this code, oops, just main and fine, that's it.
Uh,
As soon as you wrap this code within try block, try catch, code goes here, remove this. Now if you execute this code, you will have all that stuffs, main, M1, M2, M3. Fine.
got it.
Okay, yeah, you should see this flow with multiple methods. Okay, good try. Okay guys, so that's it for today. So I'll suggest go over this topic which I gave as a homework. This will help you in next class. Totally up to you guys. If you want to learn more, keep learning and go over these topics. Whatever I'm giving homework, that means we are going to discuss in future classes, maybe tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So do that. It will help you to understand class more easily. It will be easy for you to understand what's happening around you. But still, yeah, always come back and ask me tomorrow if something goes wrong. And plus, Shivam is always there to help you guys. Okay, so let's meet tomorrow and see you. Bye bye. Have a good night.